So we are going to be going over the HTML and CSS for both header templates. In this particular video, we're going to be going over the drop-down one. Okay. So this here is the template for the HTML for the drop-down menu. And a lot of it is structured relatively the same. You know, we've got our header and class of header section. We've got our logo here. You know, replace this with a p tag if we need it. We've got our normal header menu links, but right here is where the difference begins. Okay, so this whole block of code right here is for the drop-down menu. Okay, so this right here is where we'll put the menu title name is, and this will appear in the same line as our normal links. You'll also notice this p tag right here, and it has this right-facing chevron. Okay, so that will appear because of CSS. That will appear to the right of this menu title name, and then when you hover over it, there's an animation that it'll point down, and then the drop-down menu will come down. I just went with this. If you want, you can include an image here, an SVG or a PNG, and you can place this here. Like I said, this whole div right here, this is set to a display of flex, which is why we get that. Okay, so don't feel like you're stuck into this if you want to use something different. Then below that, this chunk right here is for the actual drop-down links. Okay, and you can have as many of these as you want. I just have 3 in here. You can have 2, 4, 5, however many you need. Okay, and then once that closes, we have got just another normal link sitting outside of that. Okay, so you can go normal link, drop-down menu, normal link. You can do any combination of this that you want. Okay, this is just how I set the template up. Then here we'll have our mobile menu. Again, set up the same, except for when we get to right here, and then begins the mobile menu drop-down. So same thing. Title. This image is actually a plus icon, which you'll see what that looks like and what that's about in just a few. Okay. Then we've got our drop-down links, and then same thing, a normal link right after that. And this can be done in any order that you'd like. You'll also see that in between these first 2 links, or I guess between the first and second and the second and third, I have got a horizontal ruler tag. Okay, and you'll see this in a little bit better whenever we get to the CSS portion of things. But this just creates a divider in between here, which I find looks a lot nicer and keeps things a lot more easily organized on mobile sites. Okay. Now, after we go through our navigation for desktop and mobile, then if you want, this is where you will place your header button, right before the end of the header tag and after all of your navigation. If you do not place it here, it won't look right. Okay, and then in this particular code, I have got the JavaScript codes just right in here for you. Okay, so this one is just the normal one that we use for toggling on and off the regular menu for the hamburger menu. Okay, and then this here is for the drop down on the mobile. Do not touch either of these. So what does this look like when it's entered into a site and it's all written out? So let's go here, and you'll see here I've already got our code in here. So this is what the code will look like entered in and filled out. Okay, your logo, all of your your links. Here we go. Drop down title menu is resources. Here's all the links inside of it. I did not want a normal link. I wanted the drop down menu to be the last thing in the navigation. So you'll see I don't have any other links after the drop down. If we start on the mobile, here's our hamburger icon. Change the color here if you need to. Come down to the mobile links. Here's the start of the drop down. Resources, plus sign, name of our links. Okay, no button on a phone, obviously. There is the one for the desktop, and then our JavaScript. So let's go ahead and we are going to save this. And then here is our HTML. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead, we're going to look into the CSS. So here is an example of what the template will look like in the Word document. And you'll see that there's some places that's left blank with notes. All this stuff is pretty self-explanatory, so I'm not going to dig too deep into any of that. What I will show you is this stuff right here, okay? This is all of the code that makes the drop-down menu work. Okay, one thing I will tell you is if you can try and avoid changing any of these names, do so. Things will go a lot easier for you. So what this actually looks like on a built site is this right here. Okay, so here's our desktop view. CSS has already got hover effects. When you come over to resources, you'll see it pops this up, and it pops up our drop-down menu here. It even animates the button right there. Okay. Or if you go down to 981, you'll see this is all set up, and then boop, they pop over that. They can use this. Obviously, this doesn't have a hover effect because you can't really do a hover effect on a mobile or a tablet device. You'll see here in the media queries, there's only one media query I've set here, and that is at 981. Typically, tablet devices, their viewport width starts at 981. So again, this is just a template. If you need to do this earlier in the site, just do it earlier in the site, right? So if you need to do it at 1100 instead, then it works at 1100. Okay. Now something else on this CSS, and you'll notice this on the regular header template as well, right here, position fixed. Okay, that is what makes this to where the header is constantly visible when you scroll, which is good practice for tablets and mobile screens. Okay, you'll also see some notes here. You know, you might need to do some finagling with your header and your hero section. It is really important that you have your phone nearby when you're working on this, because you're going to need to double check it on your phone to really get this honed in. Okay. One last thing I wanted to go over was something you can do as well. So let's just say these are all under resources, but resources itself has an actual landing page, okay? You can set that up as well. And so here we go. Wrap this in an A tag. You're just going to wrap it just around the title here. Save that. And then once our page is refreshed, you'll see here this still works just like normal, okay? But come over here and click resources now, it'll try and bring up its own page, which is just going to take us right back there because we don't even have the href filled out, right? Or if we come down to 981 and we do this, it still works on a phone. They'll just have to actually click this plus button for it to come down, right? If we didn't have the A tag here, they could just click on this whole bit here and it would bring the drop-down menu down. So, hope that makes sense, and I hope that this is going to be helpful for you in the future.